Hey YouTube, this is YSO Dexterious with Stro Games. Thought I would do a deck profile, the deck that I took to the Los Angeles Regionals this past weekend. I got top 64 at number 54. It was only my second big event like this, so it was kind of cool to be able to make it that far. But as you can tell, I ran Harpies. And let's get into some of the decisions I made. So, start off with the obvious stuff. Triple Channeler. Awesome card. Great card. Too good. Very quick Dracossack to start off a game. Just gives you good advantage on the field for a while. And lets you go into any other rank plays. And her main target for going into Dracossack and such. That dragon. Just the one. Some people ran two. I think most decks nowadays know just run one because you don't really want to draw it. Although, admittedly, I'm not. I don't hate drawing it as much as other decks do because the Queen Dragon Djinn play. Dancer, awesome card. She helps wreck back row with the field spell card. I also run the Divine Wind, so she can turn into another Dracossack with Divine Wind. Yeah, great card. Gets underneath bottomless and just triple queen as well. Discard her to help fill up the graveyard for Hysteric Party. Get out that hunting ground and start going ham on back row. Got one rare, but I kind of like having a variety in rarities anyway, so. Only two Lady ones. I didn't really care to draw it. I think there were a couple times when I get both in the hand and that would kind of suck. But not too often. Usually they stayed in the deck. There's a lot of people out there who are like deciding between Lady 1 or Cyber Lady. But in all honesty, like I don't think it matters. I never like kept her on the field. I would almost always overlay with her. Like I go Egotist and then overlay or something like that. So I honestly don't think it matters which one you end up playing. Like the marginal utility for when they're using their effect is not super important. Double Summoner Monk. I know some decks don't run the Summoner Monk, but my strategy in the deck was very much to be discarding Hysteric Party. I didn't want to have to put it on the field first. I didn't want to rely on my opponent to pop it or waste an opportunity to pop one of their cards by popping my own. So the deck is really oriented around discarding the Hysteric Sign. So Summoner Monks. Yeah, I got the gold one. Gold rare is my favorite rarity, so. The one Tempest. It's like, it's okay. In all honesty, it's not great. I might decide to take it out. Like, I was siding it out like crazy. Because one bad thing it does is it destroys your graveyard. It, like, you know, it keeps banishing everything out, and the deck doesn't interact with the banished at all, so it makes it harder to do things like Hysteric Party. But it does help keep field presence. I don't believe I ever overlaid with Channeler and Tempest, which is part of the reason why. Like I overlaid a lot with Pet Dragon, but not with Tempest. So I might reconsider this, I don't know. One Zephyros. Pretty self-explanatory. I was actually hoping to go into some Key Beetle plays at some point. Oh, and it's the Starfoil one, yeah. But then I never did. There were just always other better options, I guess. But yeah, I mean, everybody knows why he's useful. You can bounce back and reuse things. But yeah, games don't always go long. I never use his effect out of the graveyard. But he's a winged beast, which helps. Mist Valley Soldier. Play him because he's a tuner. Level 4, and he's a winged beast, and he's a wind, so he actually has a lot of utility with cards. And he lets me do some synchro plays, although admittedly I never did any synchro plays. I used to do it more before, because like I couldn't, back when I didn't have Dracossack or all that many rank 7s, I wanted to make a level 4 version of the deck, where I got to use him a little bit more often, but he's still a good card. 1700 attack with a 200 boost and 1900 is not bad for a beater. Champ spell card of the deck. Oops. Hysteric Sign. Pretty self-explanatory. Grab the Egotist if you're in a dire situation. Discard it. A couple times I would set it just to make people think they have to play around a Mirror Force. One time against Spellbooks, we were both top decking at the time, and I set it, and at the end of the turn, he MSTs, and I'm just like, okay, it's time effects. And I instantly got advantage pretty quickly, and I think I won like a turn or two later. Then the Egotist, just common, but yeah, summon a Harpie. Only Lady 1 is the target. I only have 2 of them, but Hunting Ground destroys back row. This card puts in so much work. It's awesome. Helps get rid of other people's field spell cards. Like I played Spellbooks, like I said, and played Gravekeepers, so to get rid of that Necro Valley was nice. And then just go ham on back row. Like the Gias that I beat were because they would do something like set for back row first turn, and I would just be like, Hunting Ground? Okay, Dancer, okay, like destroy a bunch of things, and then just instantly take out any advantage that they could possibly have. The one Divine Wind. I know a lot of people are like saying that it's not all that great, I guess. I don't know. I feel like most decks should run this. Like the way I built the deck was oriented around primarily getting out that first turn Dracossack, like 100% of the time, just like get out that first turn Dracossack as much as possible. And this really helps with that because Dancer. And basically most of the card choices that I make are ways to search out Channeler and then use her effect. So I want as many times to use Channeler as possible, which is why I run these. Swallow's Nest, only 2. I might bump it up to 3. Actually, when Proud comes out, I'll almost definitely bump this up to 3, because a lot of people are saying, oh, Harpies are going to suck as soon as Proud comes out, because then you've got the artifact cards, and then you can't really like destroy their back row and stuff, but they only get their effects when you destroy on your turn, right? Like on the opponent's turn. So if I bump this up to 3 and then use Hysteric Parties and make sure I just get my summons off, or as many of them as possible during their turn, I can get advantage that way. And Swallow's Nest would be able to let me do that. So it'll probably move up to 3 on the next format. This is just too good a card. It's awesome. Main deck D-Fissure. One of the biggest problems I was having by far was Boojins at locals, like the D-Fissure decision. And a lot of the side deck options are just to deal with them. But it's also good against other decks. I actually never ran into Mermails, but obviously it would have been good against them. And yeah, no, this is a pretty good card. And like, it doesn't hurt me that much because it gives material to detach, go to graveyard, because they're not monsters. And also, like, if I feel I'm in a huge pinch and am sending things to my graveyard for some reason, I would be able to pop it with Hunting Ground. Running a tech card like this was part of the reason why I moved Hunting Ground to 3. It was at 2, but I ended up with an MST. But I took the MST out, but kept him only in the side deck, and then moved the Hunting Ground count up to 3 so I can get rid of cards like this if I need to. Only 2 Hysteric Party. Was at 3. I might move it back up to 3, like I said with Prio, just to get my summons off during the my opponent's turn. But I don't know, it feels kind of cloggy at 3. And it's also, obviously, it's not very good early game, right? It's only good if you have a setup graveyard. Like, getting only 1 or 2 out of it is not great. But I mean, obviously, it's a pretty fantastic card. It's an opportunity to pitch Hysteric Sign. And it, or I could pitch another Harpie and get out that extra plus. Yeah, so I'll probably move it up to 3 for the next format, but it'll probably still feel cloggy even if I do that. But it's great for coming back. It's almost an instant Phantasmal Dragon if I need to. Some one-ofs. They're pretty self-explanatory. Compulse is just awesome because you can use it whenever. Came in clutch against Gravekeeper that dropped a Malefic Cyber End on me and brought me all the way down to, I think it was like 800 life points, and Compulse came in clutch because he didn't have a second dragon to banish, so he couldn't summon it again, so it was just in his hand. It was the only card in his hand. He had 2 other cards in the field. Getting rid of that was key in coming back. I was able to win that one. Notice no bottomless, mostly because I wanted to make other trap decisions. I do run the bottomless in the side deck, but I only use it for decks where I know I need to be able to get rid of monsters fast. Because honestly, like, the deck gets rid of monsters really easily with things like Phoenix Wind Blast and the monster effects that I use. So yeah, double Phoenix Wind Blast. This card is too good. I don't know why more Harpie decks don't run this. I mean, I guess they're not all oriented around discarding Hysteric Sign like this one is, but being able to get one card, any card, not like a monster, it's like any card, off the field and on top of the opponent's deck, and at the same time discarding Hysteric Sign. So I go +3, and they essentially go -2 because they're -1 on the field, and I know what their next draw is. So they're not going plus next turn like they usually would. So this card is just really broken in the deck. And like, even if you're not discarding Hysteric Sign, you could be discarding a Harpie to help set up your graveyard for Hysteric Party. Like, this has so much utility. And the way that I think about decks and play the game a lot these days is about like economy of cards and card advantage. And this puts in so much work for card advantage, especially for this deck, especially for any deck that gets an effect off of being able to send something to the graveyard from the hand. Focus. Okay, yeah, Trap Stun. Trap Stun's cool. It helps me protect a lot of my plays. I know some Harpie decks will run Lances instead of Trap Stuns. My theory was I didn't want to just protect one monster, and I don't really need the like damage step variance out of Lance. The other cool thing is you can pair this with Hysteric Party. So I did this against a Mythic Ruler at the start of the game, where he ends his turn, I forget if he like MST'd or Blaster popped, but he was going to hit Hysteric Party, and so what I did was I chained Trap Stun, and then you chain Hysteric Party. Hysteric Party resolves, brings all the monsters onto the field, Trap Stun resolves, and then the Hysteric Party blows up because of whatever it was, but because Trap Stun resolved, they're no longer attached, and so they stay on the field. That was able to help me out a lot, actually, because then I was able to go into Phantasmal Dragon. I ended up losing the round anyway, but he was impressed by the play. Double Fiendish Chain. They were Veilers at the start, but that was like months ago. I changed my mind because of Bujins. Because Veilers don't stop Yamato, but Fiendish Chains will. Yeah, self-explanatory. Prevent people from attacking and negate their effects. Too much utility. Might bump that up to 3. We'll see.